So real quick, before we start, please, I would love for you guys to unmute and talk. It's only going to work if you guys also chime in. If you guys are all quiet and just staring at me, it's not going to work. That's not how this goes today. If you guys want to chat in the chat box, I was thinking we can look at an interview response and then after grade it. So 1 being not so great, 5 being a good answer. So if you guys want to do that in the chat, maybe give me a 1, 5, 3, whatever you think that interview response is, and then we can kind of dissect it a little bit and then move on to the good answer. So it kind of starts off with the not so good and then to the good. Does Arlene or Ramon want to say anything before we get going? Or Cece? Or nobody?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Okay. So let's try it out. This is the first time we're doing this, so it should be fun. Okay. All right. Okay. So. All right. So let's, hopefully you guys can all hear and see, and we're going to, can you guys see it says interview examples? All right. Arlene?
Yes.
Actress.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see if you can hear it. So we're going to start off with the first one. This is going to be an opening statement. I am going to be, so we all took turns being proctor because everyone didn't want to answer all the questions and everyone became an interviewer and an interviewee. So you guys will see. So I'm going to be asking Tracy Goldberg interview question and we're pretending she's interviewing for Recreation Facility Director. See how that works. Thank you everybody for being here today. And I'd like to thank you, Tracy, for applying, submitting your application for Recreation Facility Director. Before we jump into questions, we want you to know that we are considering 10 other applicants for this position. And we have some difficult decisions given the excellent pool of candidates. We will be asking 6 questions and have about 30 minutes. So please be mindful of the time as we'd like to get through all the questions. So I'll start off with question number 1. Tracy, please tell us how your experience and education have prepared you for the position of Recreation Facility Director.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. I went to Agoura High School and I took some child development classes, so that sort of started me off. And then right out of high school, I started working at Camp Hollywoodland, where I've been working for 8.5 years. And
this is the one not to do, right?
Yep.
Go on, sorry.
And then I went to CSUN and I majored in child development, so that applies obviously. And so then, like I said, I started working at camp right out of high school, and I really love it because you have so much fun and you get to be with kids all the time. And so I've been with the department for, like I said, about 8.5 years, and I really love it, and I just want to keep moving up.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, so that's the first one. So what do you guys think? If you guys, were listening, how did she do? Basic introduction.
Weak.
Weak, all right, a little weak, yeah. Did you guys feel like you got a sense of like her whole career, what she's able to bring to the table?
I thought that weak, yeah. Vague, not really specific about her experience and how it qualifies her for the position.
Okay. Anybody else? I see a lot of 1s and 2s. If you cannot hear, I think everyone else can hear. If you can't hear, check your microphone or your stuff at your office. I think most of you guys can hear, right? Obviously, if you're answering. Needs to give more information on what she has done and accomplished. Good. Oh, good, Christina, you're good. Okay. Didn't really connect education to experience. Very vague. Yeah. So it was a really vague answer. Could somebody send Jasmine D from the Valley the link information? Please.
I will.
Okay, thank you. I can't see the other screen because I have this up. Okay, so let's see. On the other way. See? Oh, and I also wanted to show you guys in the video how you see the phone went off? We kind of left it on purpose, but remember we talked about that before, making sure your devices are turned off. My devices are all going off right now, of course, which is really annoying. So make sure that you guys turn off your devices. If you're the interviewer or the interviewee, you don't want that to happen. It throws you off and it kind of messes up the interview. So we kind of left it in the video. We were going to edit it out, but it's good to just talk about that to make sure that you guys turn off your devices. Okay, so let's look at the second. So this is the second, she kind of improved her answer. So see how she improved it and see what she did to make it a little bit better. All right, so first question. Please tell us how your experience and education have prepared you for the position of Recreation Facility Director.
Love to. Okay, so I have a degree in child development. We all have to have degrees. So, and it's helped me a lot because I kind of understand kids a little bit more. And so I'm a little more familiar with, you know, some of the traits and things of different age groups. So that obviously helped me in my career. I started with the department about 8.5 years ago as a recreation assistant working at Camp Holly Woodland. And I became the recreation coordinator there. And during that time, I've had a lot of experience with working with budgets. I've overseen part-timers, sometimes up to 100 at a time. I was in charge of interviewing, hiring, training staff, doing all the scheduling, taking care of the budget, trying to balance, you know, the cost of staff, the cost of food, because it's an overnight camp. There's more budgetary constraints than probably at the average recreation center because we go all night long. It's taught me a lot about how to do multiple tasks at one time. I mean, it's the epitome of multitasking. And I realize that some people think that only having worked at the camp is a disadvantage, but there are lots of ways where that's a huge advantage. I've had lots of experience doing special events, which you might be thinking, how do you do a special event there? But when it's an overnight camp, you are programming all the way till bedtime and then starting first thing in the morning before breakfast. So we would do several special events each week, and it really taught me how to manage and lead people, and also how to manage my time and be able to get tasks done quickly and efficiently.
All right. All right, so what do you guys think about number 2? So this is her little better answer. What did she change? How did she make it a little better?
It seems like she tied in, well, no, she tied in her work experience and education, real world experience into her answer, which was great. She was very specific. And she was able to really tie everything in to her opening statement. She wasn't stumbling. She was very quick in her answers, which was good.
Yeah, I love in the comments, you guys are saying a lot of information was given as far as experience, much better, gave her a 4. She gave examples. So she gave examples of how, I think Tracy really wanted to emphasize in this answer, how even though you've only worked in maybe a specific section, like she only worked in camps, it doesn't just tie her only to knowing camps. Camps, although you just work in there, how can you pull out of camps, like all the different experiences? So she was able to pull out special events, teamwork, leadership, all those different things. A lot more informative, more detailed, good, much better. She used work experience and education. And I think in the beginning, someone said, how did she tie in her education? I think she did a little bit better on this one, where she talked about child development and how it ties in to what she's doing now. Any other comments? You guys get really, yeah, go on.
I think even her body language changed in this, the second time. Feels like she showed more interest with her body language too.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially because we're doing virtual. Like, you know, it's true in the first one, she was a little more like, it looked more not as confident. In the second one, she felt a little more confident in her answer. So you can see that too in the body language. Good point, Estrella. Anybody else? So what would you guys give her on this one? On the first one, I got a lot of 1s and 2s. What would you guys give her on this one? On a scale from 1 to 5? A 4, good. 5, good. All right, Tracy, all right, you might get the job. Okay. All right, let's move on to the second question. Let's see who it is. So given just caveat, a lot of us were nervous doing this, even though we weren't really interviewing for something. And later on, like, oh, we should have said this or that, which happens in every interview, right? As soon as you leave, you're like, oh, I should have said blah, blah, blah. So the same thing happened to us doing this for you guys, but
the whole point is that we can all talk about it together and kind of make it better. So, all right, let's see number 2.
All right, thank you very much.
So equal employment opportunity.
Sonia, what does EEO mean to you as a supervisor, and how do you ensure your staff is in compliance with the directive?
Thank you. So as a supervisor, I think EEO, equal employment opportunity, is just creating a space where employees feel discrimination free, based on, you know, different classes. So we have racial discrimination, ageism, sexism, sexual orientation, HIV and AIDS, accommodation, staffing, disability access and functional needs. So all these different classes make sure that people feel safe and protected by those, so that way they have a good environment to work in. And, you know, doing trainings with them. We do the safety tailgates once a month, and making sure that they're signing and that they take the tailgates. And as a supervisor, that's how I make sure that they're in compliance.
Thank you.
All right, so EEO, one of those questions we said that you guys should know off the top. They might ask that for sure, right? In some kind of form. So what do you guys think? Where did I do good or bad, or where could I have expanded?
Sonia, can I respond?
Yes, sir.
So it showed that you knew what EEO was, but it didn't give an example of how you've come across a situation where you dealt with EEO.
Right, so I didn't give an example. Good. Is there other aspects of EEO I didn't touch? What would you guys give me on that one? From 1 to 5. 2, 3, good. Trainings for promotion, yeah, I didn't mention that, right? Good. Yeah, 3. Yeah, wasn't that strong, right? It was good. I showed that I knew what EEO was. I also think when people started listing all the classes, like you don't need to list all the classes. I kind of went overboard listing all the classes. Sometimes you can just say a discrimination-free workplace, and you know, make sure that all the I usually say just making sure that I have a discrimination-free workplace. Some people like to list them all. You don't really need to. Even if you do a couple, it helps. The protected classes. Yes, thank you, Arlene. You're reading my mind. Okay, so let's look at what a little better answer looks like. Hopefully this one's better. This is my second one.
What does EEO mean to you as a supervisor, and how do you ensure your staff is in compliance with the directive?
So as a supervisor, equal employment opportunity, EEO, to me means providing a discrimination-free workplace for our employees. So making sure that we have an environment where everyone feels comfortable and safe, as far as making sure that people are saying appropriate jokes or having appropriate conversations. As a supervisor, it's my job to ensure that there are protected classes, race, you know, sexual orientation, and making sure that all those classes feel protected as well. Another part of EEO is making sure that if they do feel like those are being violated, that they know how to report, and that they, you know, can file a report if needed. Also providing promotional opportunities, so doing mock interviews, trainings, making sure that staff is knows when different opportunities are coming up and that they're ready for that. So for me as a supervisor, making sure that the person, you know, the subordinate employees are ready to move up and advance when that time comes. That's part of my responsibility as well. Another responsibility is just making sure, I know part of EEO is making sure that people have the proper accommodations. So if they need a special desk or ergonomic supplies, that they also can get that as well.
Thank you.
All right. So before that, I had a blooper, so then it got me nervous and I started talking fast. But what do you guys think about that answer? Much better. Good. Thanks, Christina. I can tell myself after watching it again that I was talking a little faster, so maybe slowing down a little bit. I did hit other topics that I didn't hit on the first one. Did you guys notice the different topics? Okay, good. Much more complete. Yeah, 4 answers prepared. Yeah, the training part I brought up. Yeah, more direct and informative. I was more, I felt like the first one I was trying to be like thinking of the answer, and the second one I felt like I was a little more direct, so good. All right. Any comments on this one? Does it help to kind of see someone do it, you guys? Is it helpful to watch? Okay. Yeah, how to report. That's a good one. I think people forget that to add in, like, if these are not protected, or if these people do feel discriminated in any way, how they can report. That's part of your job as well, that they understand that. Okay, good. All right, let's go on to the next one. Let's see who the next victim is. Progressive discipline.
Hello. You notice your employee has regularly come into work late. First, explain the steps of progressive discipline, and then tell us what steps you take if this were your coordinator.
So the steps of progressive discipline is speaking to the employee, trying to rectify the situation, and then if they don't respond, you write them up. And then if they don't respond, then they will either get suspended or terminated. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Okay, yes, you notice that your employees has regularly come into work late. First, explain the steps of progressive discipline, and then tell us what steps you take if this was your coordinator.
Okay, so to discipline my coordinator that's coming in late, I would just remind them what their schedule is and what time they're expected to show up to work. And then if they're not showing up on time, then I would write them up. And then if they continue to be late, then they would have to be either terminated or suspended.
Okay, thank you.
All right, what do you guys think of Arlene's debut performance? Uh-oh, Gus is giving you a deuce. A two. So she did know some of the steps, right? I like that she also asked to restate the question. So, you know, we do get in our head sometimes, we get nervous. So we always keep telling you guys it's okay to restate. Needs to expand on her answers and use the name of the write-up, or so it's not, you shouldn't really use the names, but you know, talk about that you had to, I know what you mean. Yeah, that you had to write up and the different steps of progressive discipline. I don't think she went through them all. Anybody else notice anything? Hey, Eric. What would you guys rate her from 1 to 5? I got a 2 up there, a 3. All right, I guess 3s, 2s.
She was too vague.
Very vague, yeah. I don't want to be on Gus's board. He seems tough. No, yeah, it was vague though. She could have done better, right? All right, cool. So let's see Arlene do better. Let's see. Yeah.
Employee has regularly come in to work late. First, explain the steps of progressive discipline, and then tell us what steps you take if this were your coordinator.
So first and foremost, progressive discipline is not punitive. It's a tool to correct behavior. The first step would be an oral warning. So you would discuss with your employee in private what the matter is, what the situation is, and the consequences if this behavior does not change. You could follow that up with an informal memo. And if the behavior continues, then you would move on to a formal written notice to correct deficiencies. When this formal notice is created, you would loop in HR, have them review it and approve it, and notify your supervisor as well. Once this is approved, you would issue this to the employee in private, and you would provide a copy of this signed document to HR to put in the employee's file for documentation purposes for future reference. At that point, if the behavior still does not change, then you would contact HR, work with HR and your supervisor, and based on the standards of employee conduct, the determination would be made whether this employee needs to be suspended or terminated based on what the offense is. In the case of an employee, a coordinator that is continuously coming in late to work, first and foremost, I would have a private conversation with that employee and find out if in fact there is a reason why that they're coming in late. If it is something that is beyond their control, we could look at their assignment, their responsibilities, and see if there's any flexibility in scheduling. Perhaps they just need a schedule adjustment, and that would help them out.
Oops, it cut off. All right, a lot better. What do you guys think? I saw some heads nodding. Very good, Arlene. Any comments on that one? Ooh, okay. I see.
I think that
Five.
last part should have been said maybe in the beginning.
The specific example.
Yeah, the specific example. It really depends how you use your example, but I've used some of that part in the beginning. You know, because sometimes it's a quick adjustment that would help the employee, but I guess it depends on the example.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to either, sometimes people like to say it first, so you can get the steps out and then you don't forget them, or you can use the example to say the steps. But yeah, either way, I think as a on the interview panel, I would have said, oh, she got them all. She gave me an example. So to me, she would have got all the points. Someone said was more detailed about the steps of progressive discipline, demonstrated both her knowledge of what progressive discipline is and how she should apply it in her new position. So yeah, very good. I do like in the beginning how she said it's not punitive. That's a good point. You know, it's to correct the behavior. We're not here to try and get people in trouble, but we want to correct behavior. Or like she said, maybe they just need some assistance and they need to vocalize that. So very good. That was a really good one. All right, so this is program planning. This one's hilarious, so hope you guys enjoy. Okay, go on.
Okay, you are assigned to a facility that has very low numbers in girls' sports participation. What steps would you take to remedy this?
So low participation in girls' sports. Are we supposed to do girls' sports in our programs? Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I worked in the department for 20 years. You know, I've had to run girls' sports. You know, in that times, you know, I've been asked to you know, build a GPLA program of volleyball. So, you know, I had to do that. So I started recruiting staff, you know, quality staff. I usually, you know, lean on my guy staff who usually does sports, you know, so I can trust them. I know that they'll do a great job. That way that the girls can see someone that knows how to run the program correctly. I would put games and practices after the boys so they can kind of see what an established program looks like. I would try to recruit some girl travel teams, club teams, so that girls can see how a good program is and how girls should be playing at a high level. I would, I mean, my main thing is to increase the participation so that I can submit a team for All-Stars and hopefully, you know, get a banner for the park. So that way we can make some, you know, marketing and so the marketing for our program will be enhanced and people can see that we're proud, that they're proud of our program and know that what's most important is winning. So I'll make sure that I have the best refs. I'll make sure that my staff organizes good schedules. So in the end, as long as the girls can participate and they feel like they're part of the program, I think I've done a good job. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, what was wrong with that one? Come on, people.
What wasn't wrong with that one?
So he took a little liberty being extra, but you know, some of these things we have heard, so we just wanted to make sure that we brought it out. What did you guys notice in that answer?
Was focused on winning and not the girls' programming itself and how it would help girls develop the girls' program.
Yeah, very focused on the banner and winning and, you know, making sure they come in first, right?
Yeah, anytime.
You might have two things on. Renisha?
Yeah, I was going to say it is more.
Oh, sorry, Renisha. Maybe you have, like, is your phone on too? I don't know. Yeah, it did come off sounding very sexist, right? Like, we're going to have them after the boys because the boys can teach them. We can school the boys too, you know? So, but it was funny. He meant to do it a little bit. Girls are important. I did, someone also commented he didn't have good eye contact. That's true. He was kind of like all over the place, wasn't really focused on the interviewers. Renisha, if you want to put yours in the chat, I know you had something to say. Yeah, a lot racist. I mean, a lot sexist, yes. Gender equity, yes. He was not focusing on gender equity. Yep, delegating to only the guide staff. So he was being a little extra. Let's see how he redeems himself in part 2. Let's see.
You're assigned to a facility that has very low numbers in girls' sports participation. What steps would you take to remedy this?
Well, participation in girls' sports. Luckily, our department has done a really good job in the last, decade and a half to emphasize and promote and create interest in increasing girls' participation. I feel that I've been a part of that. I've been able to start programs for girls at centers that I've been at. I've also hosted tournaments throughout the city for volleyball, in addition to other things. If I was put in a situation specifically just to build numbers in a specific location, I would do some steps that I would feel comfortable that I know that would increase girls' participation. The first thing is we'll look at the previous history of the center. Did they have a program before? Was it productive? What are the reasons why it went away? Or what are the things that made it not as successful as it could have been? I also look at the community profile for local resources that are in the neighborhood, schools, churches, teachers, whatever that I can find. Then I want to figure out barriers of the situation. I want to emphasize, have a meeting with my staff so that we can start seeing the sport and what we're trying to do through the eyes of girls and participation. So not only that, I want to eliminate the perception that it's only a boys-only program, that I want to see why the constant play, if we can make changes to that. I want to make sure that everything's equal across the board, equipment, time of use, the facilities. Then I'm going to incorporate a marketing plan. Banners, only girls banners, flyers that don't have girls on them, bulletin boards that display girls only activities, that have role models for people with extreme sports, not just regular basketball and softball. Bulletin boards, flyers, use our social media platform in order to promote it on our social medias and also email blasts for our centers. And then I'm going to do a recruitment plan where recruiting across the board. I'll recruit officials from our in-house work program, work official recruiting certificate program, so we can have women officials. I'm going to recruit their moms. I'm going to try to create a mom's basketball league. I'm going to try to recruit their aunts, their sisters to either play or to help scorekeep or volunteer. I'm going to hire rec assistants that are female so they can run the program, so they can talk at their ceremonies, so they can scorekeep. Then I'm going to make sure I'm going to use our park resources. GPLA, which is the Girls Play LA program, which subsidizes fees, costs, uniforms. I'm going to use Class Park so that I can maybe do a teen girl league on Friday night or Saturday night, whenever they choose the best time available for them. I'm going to make sure that they have their primetime games on Saturday during AM times, that they have practices during the weeknights when normally you just see boys play. I'm going to give them the better field, not the better fields, but equal field time, equal fields on the outside, not just a field in the corner somewhere. They're going to get the better equipment, better locations. I'm going to contact the local high schools, and maybe the teachers or the teens from there can help coach and be mentors. And then finally, I'm going to be creative and I'm going to be fun with it. When they do games, maybe a fun sock day, or maybe a mom and daughter game, or maybe have the local high school teach a clinic or a camp. Things just thinking outside the box. I think if we provide them with the opportunities and be resilient, be persistent, create an environment and empower these girls, I think that's something that will be rewarding to them, to us. And that's what the steps that I would take if I was in that position.
Thank you.
All right. So how did he do with the comeback? What would you guys give him from 1 to 5 on that one? Oh, 5, yeah. Very detailed, right? He had a lot of examples of what he would do to make the program better, how he's including gender equity. So I know that some of you guys are not on the recreation side, but just to think about how you can take an answer from very, well, that one was a little sexist, the first one, but to turn it around and give a lot of details, really good. Much better, great ideas, very detailed. It was a little long. I do agree. It was a little long. Maybe he could have condensed a couple of things. We were kind of going off the cuff. But if you practice maybe condensing a little bit more and making it more concise would be better. He did include available department resources, which is a good thing to add, especially if it's an internal and people know what we have to offer. Or if it's not internal, just describing them a little, like he did, like GPLA is a Girls Play LA program. This way the panel if they're not from Rec and Parks. They have an idea of what we're talking about. But good to include that you would use even our internal resources as well. All right, cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. Conflict resolution.
So Ramon, please tell us how you've handled a conflict between two employees.
All right, well, first of all, I'd probably try and ignore it as much as possible, you know, try not to get involved, let them work it out on their own, you know. Because if I find out about it, then I'll have to act, so just kind of look the other way, hopefully they work it out, and if they don't, then maybe talk to them and tell them, you know, figure out who's right, and then let the other one know that they're wrong, and then let them figure it out that way.
Thank you.
Oh wait, where did I go? Where'd I go? All right, was that words for the wise, right? Just let it handle itself. What do you guys think? Anybody? Haha. So I've heard some of these in interviews, so it's kind of crazy, right? Of course, you don't want them to handle, you know, work it out. What is Ramon missing in this answer? Great answer.
He sounded like my dad.
Oh, yeah. They'll figure it out, right? Let the kids fight. Yeah, this sounds like a very old school. Everything was wrong with this answer. Yes, number one, he's not getting involved. So as a supervisor, what is our responsibility, right? Any other comments? You guys are so quiet. This only works if you guys engage with me. Take ownership, good. Yeah, he's not getting involved. So you think Ramon's able to turn it around in his second answer? All right, let's see, Ramon, try again.
Ramon, tell us how you've handled a conflict between two employees.
First of all, you want to address it immediately. You don't want to let it linger or get any bigger. You want to sit both sides, you know, separately and get their side of the story. You know, try and mediate somewhere between their side, one person's side, and the other is the truth or what the issue is. So sit down, write it all out, investigate what's going on, listen to both sides, document it, and then see what you could do as far as mediating the problem. If it's a work schedule or that someone's coming late or they don't feel that the other's doing their fair share of work, then you want to make sure everybody has assigned roles, assigned tasks, and delegate something so that everybody has a share of the workload and make sure that they have it, you know, spelled out so there's no discrepancies. And also just notify my supervisor, make sure they're aware of the problem, you know, be very professional with them and follow up. And if either of the two or both do not, you know, we're not able to correct the problem, then open it up to progressive discipline. You know, once we could address it and have a informal sit down, and then if necessary, document and follow whatever steps come after that as needed.
All right. So how did that one sound?
There was actually a thought process there.
Yeah. Yeah. He was thinking about what he needs to do, right? Yeah, very
Yeah,
true.
and he took the steps to handle it.
Yeah. And this one, you know, it was conflict resolution, but Ramon went the second step to progressive discipline, right? So in a lot of conflict resolution, you always have to think about what if it doesn't get resolved? What if this continues or these employees continue arguing? And then you have to go down the progressive discipline route. So I'm glad he touched on that as well. Much better.
Sonia, I have a question.
Yes. Hey, Jen.
Hi. Okay, so can you address record of work directive here versus progressive discipline in a part-timer? So we're talking about two part-time employees that are having the conflict, right?
It didn't state if you're going to go through progressive discipline, it would have to be full-timers. So maybe he has two coordinators. If it's part-time, then there could be the work directive, but there is no progressive discipline for part-time employees.
Mm-hmm. So should we state that?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're, depending on what you're going for, right? So if you're going for senior, they're probably not going to ask about coordinators. It'll more be like a full-time person. You know, if you're also, because we have people on here from plumbing and all kinds of different divisions. So think about it, you know, whatever your position is, it's probably going to be full-time that they want to hear. If you do supervise part-timers, you should know the process for that as well. And that they are intermittent employees, and that, you know, keeping good documentation is very important, that you're able to do notice to correct. But you know, there is no progressive discipline for part-time employees, so there are at-will employees. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I was just going to say, I think that expressing that you understand both the part-time and the full-time disciplinary procedures, I think could only work to your benefit. So if you explain that the part-timers are not privy to progressive discipline, this is the steps that you would take for a part-timer, and then this is what you would do for a full-timer, if it's ambiguous.
Yeah. Usually they try to kind of line it out or lay it out where it says, you know, you're going to have 2 full-time staff or whatever the problem is, some type of conflict that you have to mediate. But if it is, like Arlene said, ambiguous, it's good to know both processes and say you know both. That just helps you out, you know, with your points. Any other comments on progressive discipline? No, what was that? Conflict resolution? Yeah.
I have one other one, Sonia. In this one, he didn't give an example. What do you think about that?
Yeah, good point. He didn't give I think it would have been a lot better, maybe a 5 if he gave an example and said, you know, one time I did have this XYZ employee who was doing this, and the way I handled it was this way. We don't all have examples all the time. And later on when we finished, we were like, oh man, we should have gave more examples, but it's good to bring up here because I think it would have made his answer much better if he did. So yeah, if you have an example, if you guys already have, like I said before, making sure you have those note cards of different examples for all these different topics, and then pull that note card, you know, pull it out of your memory bank and then give an example would just increase your score. Anybody else? All right, who's next? I think it's me again. Yeah.
Please explain the methods and steps you would take when working with an underperforming employee under your supervision.
So an underperforming employee. Well, if I had someone who was underperforming, I would talk to them and see if maybe they have too many assignments, maybe, you know, maybe it's just too much for them, and kind of see how I can help them out as much as possible. Yeah, I just think, you know, we're really busy right now, so maybe they are not able to handle the workload. So I think just having like a discussion and trying to figure out where I could be more of assistance and help them out more, I think that'd be like the best.
All right, so how did I do with leadership and motivation? Any comments? 1 through 5. Give me a 2, Gus. Come on now. That was a very vague answer, right? And I kind of took on a lot of the responsibility myself. So I was like, oh, if you can't do it, I'll do it for you. So as a supervisor, what could we do with someone who's underperforming or not motivated? Enabling, yeah, kind of enabling. Oh, okay, I'll handle it. Which happens a lot, right? Because people don't want to confront or don't want to have to, you know, have those tough discussions, which is usually the hardest part of being a supervisor, right? No leadership, retrain if necessary. Good point, you guys. Training them. All right. Give me a 2. Okay, I'll take my 2. All right, let's try. Let's see if I do better.
Please explain the methods and steps you would take when working with an underperforming employee under your supervision.
So an underperforming employee, I would sit down and talk with them. I would make sure that they have clear goals and expectations and they understand what I expect of them. A lot of times we think that we conveyed the message of what we really want and maybe we haven't. So really having clear expectations and making sure we're all on the same page is really important, because I could say they're underperforming, maybe they didn't even know I wanted them to do X, Y, Z. So setting those first, understanding where they're coming from. So having that conversation, celebrating when they're doing good, and then also, you know, if they're not up to par, then just like I said, having a conversation with them to get them where they're at, and providing feedback. So maybe if I gave them assignment, tell them, you know, let's check in on this date, making it clear and setting clear guidelines or a clear timeline for where I want things done. This way they understand, like, you know, by next Tuesday I want to have this draft done. Let's sit down and let's look it over. And giving them feedback is really important. If still after all that we had this conversation, we sat down, we set clear expectations, and they're still underperforming, then I would have to look into progressive discipline and going through the steps of that, like we stated earlier, you know, making sure that we have that talk again, a written memo, and then if it still continues, then we'd have to escalate it even further. So hopefully, you know, the first part, the motivational part, will get to them, and having clear expectations and setting timelines and goals will be the best way. But if not, then we'd have to go down the progressive discipline route.
All right. So what do you guys think on that answer? So the question, I think, yeah, the question is kind of tricky, right? Because it talks about having an underperforming staff. So some people didn't, this is actually a question we gave out recently in one of the interviews. And a lot of people didn't get to that progressive discipline part, which is kind of what the question is asking. So maybe make sure you guys are looking at the question. Yeah, and so someone said it was great. You gave examples, celebrating, providing feedback, really good. Setting clear expectations is always like a key phrase in those type of questions. You want to make sure that you're giving them clear expectations because people can't just assume they know what you want, right? Especially if you're a new supervisor. Yeah, much more clear. And I could have probably given an example of when I've done this or how I've worked with staff. I think that would have made it a little better. I kind of give examples of sitting down, talking with them, but maybe an actual example of when I've mentored somebody or worked with somebody who I felt needed a little more help. Yeah, so included support, feedback, progressive discipline, and the action steps. So good. So always thinking about the question and what they're trying to get at with that question, because sometimes it seems like it's just maybe you could have just went down the motivation route and leadership and kind of forgot about, well, if all those things, if I did all those things and they're still not, you know, working up to par or still underperforming, then what do I do? Any other comments? Thank you guys for putting feedback in the chat. All right, I think we have a couple more in the close. Let's see.
A parent is complaining that their child is not getting enough playing time. How do you address this issue?
Well, I'd like to see how if the child could play. You know, some of them aren't that good, so they're not going to play as much as everybody else. I mean, if the game's important, you're trying to win a title, you don't want to have the players that aren't that great out there on the field, so, you know, or on the court. So, you know, you play them as much as you can. If you know, especially if you have a big lead, you might want to put them in a little. But, you know, you really want to win the game and make sure you get a title, especially at All-Stars. You want to make sure that your part comes back with the banner and the trophy. So I would figure out, you know, what level they're playing at and see how much time they should actually be getting out there.
Thank you.
All right. Can you guys see us trying to hold back our laughter? We did several takes. We're like, I can't do this. So what do you guys think about that answer? What was this? What was the topic? Customer service? So someone is complaining about their child's playtime, or if someone's complaining in general, right? So how do you handle that? Anybody? What would you guys give them from 1 to 5?
A 1.
A 1. Oh, we got a 2, a 1 and 2. Someone said he never mentioned listening to the parents' concern. A lot of 1s and 2s in here. He focused on winning, not on recreation. So he did focus on coming back with that title, right? What if the kid's not that good? What is some of our rules in play? Well, if you're in recreation, I guess you know. So let's listen to number 2. I think he comes back good.
A parent is complaining that their child is not getting enough playing time. How do you address this issue?
Hopefully they're well aware of our mandatory play time and what the limits are. You know, what I like to do is every season we put out a parent letter that is handed to every parent as they register, so that it spells out, you know, days for practice, games. Also, it gives them what the mandatory play time is. That way they're aware of how much they should expect. The minimum amount of time every child will be playing. Whether it's baseball, it's usually innings. If it's basketball, it's minutes per quarter. Hopefully we have that in place and they know what the mandatory time is. Also, I'd like to go out and observe the practices and games and make sure that, you know, they are indeed playing that amount of time. If it's not, then right away I would address the coach and make sure that they're aware that each child has to play a minimum amount of time in each game. If they're not following through, and make sure that the officials are aware of the mandatory play and they're also enforcing it. To make sure that if it is a true issue, we address it through the coach, have the officials follow up, and myself or staff be present at games to make sure it's being followed, and continue to do that until it's corrected.
Thank you.
All right. So good response, right? I know everyone's not here in the recreation aspect, but think about if you had to deal with a patron, the most important things are listening to their concern, really addressing the issue, following up. So like he said, he'd go to the games, he'd talk to the coach, he'd you know, attend some practices and see what's going on, or have staff attend. This way he has eyes on it. you know, we get a lot of complaints. I've been getting a lot of complaints about a bunch of stuff. You know, we have courts not open yet, people have dog parks. So you're getting a lot of complaints from the public as well as patrons or volunteers or staff. So listening, hearing them out, trying to figure out if you have a solution for it, and then getting back with them. So Ramon said he would check it and make sure that that he followed through to see if it, continued or if it made that better. Same thing with like someone that calls, or a customer or a patron calls about a complaint, make sure you follow up and give them a call back and tell them if you're able to resolve it or whatever your resolution was. So he got a 4 to 5, a 5, good job, much better. He seemed to really listen and investigate. He referred back to the rules and guidelines. That's good, right? So we do have mandatory play rules. So there are rules in place to make sure that kids are playing. So we went back to that, make sure the coach is aware of that, because maybe that's the one coach that missed the coaches meeting, so we don't know. So make sure we did that and follow up. Yeah. So good answer. Thank you, Moan. All right. I think we're going to, what's this one? So there's a closing statement.
Is there anything you would like to add to assist us with our decision?
Not really. I mean, I think my work speaks for itself. So no, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, a 5, right? A 5. So should we ever say no? Yeah, she got a 0, 0. Yes. So we said it over and over again in the last workshops. Never say I have nothing to say, or you just heard me talk, so you should be good. This is really your chance to bring it home and to like leave them with a lasting impression. You don't get judged on this last closing part, but we did say maybe in one of the questions earlier, later on, you're like, oh man, I could have said this. You can always bring it up in this closing. They haven't started grading you yet, so you may still get those points. Good time to really leave, like why, like why are you passionate? Why do you want to have this job? Why do you think you're ready for the next opportunity? So let's see how Tracy does.
Is there anything you would like to add to assist us with our decision?
Of course, thank you. I just want to say that I am really passionate about the job. It's really been my life's work to make an impact in the community. And I think you can see my passion through my stories and through my experience. And I am hardworking and dedicated. I am bilingual. I am ready for the challenge, and I really hope that you pick me. I promise you, you will not be sorry. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, what do you guys think? A little better, right? I think she could have brought it home a little more, but I think she did really good. She gave her so. She got a 5, couple 5s here. Could be more specific, maybe a little more detailed. I think we were just kind of done now. But I think she did very good, way better than the first one, right? So way better than just like, okay. She did say that she has a passion for it. She expressed passion. Yeah, she did talk about that. You liked her closing statement. Good. Yeah. So, the closing statement is very personal. It's going to be your story, what you feel. Like for me, I grew up, playing in the parks and volunteering at the parks. So I always kind of bring in those things. If you're in accounting, I have a passion for money and numbers, I don't know. So think about what your passion is and why, you want the interview panel to be like, all right, like, and I think also if you've ever been acting in that position, always bring that up at the end. I've already done this position. I've been acting for so many months or years or whatever. Just bring it up. Like I've already been doing it. I'm ready to take it on full time or, officially. That's a good point, Anna. She says, give more information if you weren't able to do your opening. So if they didn't give you an opening statement, you want to bring it home at the end and give us a little more about yourself. This way we have an idea. It's true, not everyone's doing the opening, so be ready for it. I would not prepare an opening. You need to have your opening prepared, and then also prepare how you would make it your closing if they didn't give you a closing statement. I mean, an opening statement. She emphasized giving back to the community. That was a good point too. We are all in the service industry, so how are we serving the city of LA? Good. Do we have bloopers? Hold on, let me see what she did. No. Any other questions you guys have? Really quick before we stop, I just wanted to really thank Ramon, Arlene, Juan, Tracy, and Cece. I know I made them get out of their comfort zone a little bit, myself as well. Not anybody likes, or I don't really like hearing myself talk or, or watching myself on video, but thank you guys for doing that. I know they're a little uncomfortable and they're like, okay, Sonia, fine. So I was able to rope in some people to do that, and Cece for editing it for us. I really appreciate it. Hopefully it gave you a chance to really see, you know, people in the process. I think on here too, people are saying I gotta see body language, what you're looking at. You guys can see our eyes. You can see, someone said the wide-eyed panel after, who's that? After Tracy's the first response in her closing, like, oh, nothing. And then all of us are like, okay, like that's not a good look to have, right? So you don't want to see people like, what's happening? I will be sending the recording to everybody who signed up. So if you guys want to look at us again or watch it again, feel free. And if you have any questions, I'll stay on for a little while. I don't know if she did bloopers. Let's see. Cece, do we do bloopers? No. She's like, no. I mean,
Sonia.
Yes.
No, I didn't like put them together. There's clips at the end, but
okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. She wanted bloopers, but I had to prepare for my interview.
It's okay. No, I appreciate whatever you're able to do.
I had to do a quick turnaround, but it was fun. So you're welcome.
Thank you, Cece. So I got a couple questions. How important is it to stay within the time limit? So you don't want to go on and on. I know one of the things Juan was talking about when we were discussing is like some people that have really long answers or a long story that you want to tell. You know, keep yourself in a minute or two for the answers. You know, we do have, I heard recently some of the questions, they had a lot of questions. So you don't have a long time and then you may have a lot more questions to go. You don't want to answer everything in the first, you know, in your intro by saying your whole life story. Give us a concise, you know, breakdown of where you've been and what you're doing. So it shouldn't be too long. It is important to stay. I've had to stop people and be like, I'm sorry, we need to stop. Like, you need to go on to the next question. So you don't want to be that person. But, you know, I think if you're practicing and doing mock interviews with people, it should help, like, kind of figure out if it's too long or too short. I know some of you guys said maybe the one answer that Juan Inaki gave was maybe a little too long. So how could he make it a little more condensed? And that's a good way to figure that out when you do mock interviews. If the panel doesn't make eye contact, it's kind of weird, right? It's weird to make eye contact virtually. So, so you're trying to look around, you're trying to, if you guys, I like that you guys were able to see how it's going to look, because this is basically how it's going to look. You're going to have all these little squares staring at you, depending on where your camera is. Like for me, if I would have to look at you guys in the eye if I'm staring up, but then it feels weird because then I can't see you guys. So it's kind of weird to do that. It's good to practice it and do a mock with somebody virtually so you can kind of see how your eyes look, record it and go back and check yourself out. I was looking at myself right now and I'm looking down a lot. I wasn't looking straight, and it's hard because it's virtual, so you're not really in the room with somebody. Body language, panel, or taking notes. Yeah, good point, Eric. Eric's saying the panel is going to be taking notes while you're talking, so just keep going. Don't let that confuse you. They are going to take notes while you guys are answering questions, because we need to kind of have some notes when we go back and write the answers down. So don't let that just, you know, throw you off a little bit. Thanks, Eric. All right. That went pretty good. I was trying to, any other, so I think we're going to be doing some other trainings. I don't know about more interview stuff, but we might maybe do the first trainings again if no one got on it. If you guys have any ideas for training, send me some emails. I would love to think of new ideas. This one I just kind of thought in the last minute. I'm like, it'd be cool to actually see like what someone's doing so you guys can have an idea. Good use of EEO, you got it. I know they ask about anything in our file. Yeah, when you do a personnel interview, they will ask you at the end, is there anything in your personnel file you'd like to discuss? If there is something bad in your file, it's better to get it out now because they're going to look through your file anyways. If you don't have anything, you just say no. But if there is something, you know, if there's a reason why there's something in your file, it'd be good to, you know, explain it briefly, and hopefully you have a good reason for why it's in your file. If you don't know what's in your file, you guys can go ask personnel to see your file before. You can see your file whenever you want. But right now with COVID, I'm not sure how that works or who's at personnel. So I would call if you're interested to see if there's anything in your personnel file. Good luck to those who are going to interview. Yeah, good luck to you guys. And if those of you who are not interviewing, I really love that you're taking time to just prepare yourselves, even if you're not having an interview up. You know, it's always good to be learning something new. So yeah, I'm going to be sending this video out to everybody that registered. If you jumped on and just crashed, then I don't have your email. Send me an email to sonia.young-jimenez@LA City, and I'll make sure you get it. I'm going to send it after this. I think I want to stop recording. Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right, thank you guys. Have a good week. It's a short week, so Friday's off. Yay, yay. And do something fun on the weekend. Go out. Have fun.
Yeah, not everybody's off.
Oh, I'm not off either, but I know a lot of you guys are.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope it helps you guys. Good luck. I want to see how you guys in the next level, whatever that is.